Hey mamas, and welcome to the Entering Motherhood podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Marie Bilger, a wife, mom of two, VBAC mama, and doula. Join us every episode to learn from professionals, special guests, and moms just like you, ensuring that you know what you need to know and discover things that you didn't know before. I believe in you. Let's doula this, and let's navigate the transition of entering motherhood together. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Entering Motherhood. Today, we're talking about something that brings up a lot of different feelings like excitement, anxiety, control, fear, empowerment, sometimes just all of this all at once. And what I really want to talk about today is the truth about creating a birth plan and what that might look like and what you might kind of be thinking versus what I really want to emulate. And this is not your picture perfect version of a birth plan, maybe not something aesthetic or this really beautiful template that you found, and not just the idea of if you just manifest it and you think all these positive thoughts, then that's exactly what will happen kind of version, but this real deep version of creating a birth plan and what that might look like. So if you are pregnant, if you're thinking about getting pregnant, or maybe you're supporting someone who is in this stage, this episode is definitely going to be for you. It's really meant to just highlight some things that you might not be thinking about and what things to consider when creating your birth plan and creating that vision. So I really want to talk about fear and how that comes into play when you are creating your birth plan. And there are two common fears that I hear over and over again coming from women who are preparing for birth. And the first one specifically is if I make a birth plan and it doesn't happen in that exact way, I'm going to be devastated. So this is really causing a lot of, well, why even make a plan? I'm just going to wing it. Or I made a plan before and nothing went according to plan. So I don't want that. And another thing that is coming up with fear is if I don't make a plan, I'll feel completely unprepared and powerless. So we are at these like two ends of the spectrum of if I make a plan and it doesn't go that way, I'm going to feel upset or let down. I'll be devastated. And then the other end is if I don't make a plan, I'm going to feel so unprepared, so powerless. Nobody's going to know what's going on. Nobody's going to know my hopes and desires and wishes and preferences and things like that. So which is it? And maybe you're conflicted of should I make one? Should I avoid it? How do I protect myself? What is the best thing for me? So what I want to say right now is a birth plan is not about controlling your birth. It's really about clarifying your values and your preferences and your hopes and desires and wishes. And it's getting you in the headspace of thinking about these things. And that's very different than what people might traditionally or generally think about birth plans. I see it as an opportunity to really sit with yourself, sit with your fears, sit with your preferences, sit with your thoughts and ideas circulating birth. And it's really just a time to go over all of these what if scenarios. And I really want to redefine what a birth plan can be and what it actually is. Because a birth plan is not an exact script. It's not this rigid kind of piece of paper that we hand over and say, all of these things absolutely have to happen. It's not a guarantee. It's not a list of demands. It's not a contract that you are signing, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and literally just handing over as this needs to be the exact plan, and it needs to go according to plan, and everything needs to be perfectly this way. But it's more so a tool for communication. It's a way that we can express ourselves and communicate with our birth team. It is a reflection of ourselves. It's a statement that demonstrates our values when maybe we can't get those things across in the moment. And it's definitely a conversation starter. So, depending on where you are birthing, this birth plan really comes in handy to all those involved. So, maybe you're birthing in a hospital and there's going to be staff that have never met you before, don't know a thing about you. And these are some things that you can literally just hand over and say, "This is what I've thought about, and this is what I would like you to be informed about." If you have a doula, it's again that conversation starter. It is going over all of your pain points, all of your fears, all of your hopes, desires, wishes, and it's laying it out so that we can talk about those things and say, okay, I see here that you want delayed cord clamping. What does that mean to you? Why do you want this? How can we go about making sure that this is something that gets followed through? Oh, I see that you want immediate skin to skin. Have you talked to your provider about this? Maybe it is something that you're handing over to your provider. Is that provider going to be the person who is at your birth? Are you having a midwife with a home birth and you know that that is going to be the person most likely that's going to be there? I mean, sometimes there are scenarios that they need backups and whatnot, but most of the time, if you are having a home birth with a midwife, that is the person that's attending your birth. So, are you giving this birth plan to them so that they're aware of what you're envisioning and what you're thinking birth is going to look like? And then they can say, oh, this is totally practical. This is exactly how birth looks. This is what we're going to be doing and how things are going to be done. Going back to just all the different scenarios and settings with a hospital, it's letting them know that information to people that might be complete strangers to you. So it really kind of depends who we're giving it to and what needs to be provided in this birth plan. Because the problem isn't the birth plans. The problem is when we treat them like promises instead of preferences, and when we expect or assume that everybody involved is going to follow it to a T. And so we really need to take into consideration where we're birthing, who our birth team is, and how important these preferences are to us. Because birth is really dynamic. It can unfold in so many different ways, and there are so many variables that are out of our control that we really need to consider and remember and incorporate into our plan. But your voice, your preferences, your values, they matter so much, and they should be taken into consideration, and they should be looked at and respected and seen. And so writing them down helps not only you understand more clearly what you want out of your birth and what you want out of the experience, but it allows others to see that as well. And it gives you a consolidated template to show others what you're thinking and how you're feeling and how you envision this experience going. Because when we sit down and we create a birth plan, it forces us to ask questions like, how do I feel about pain management? And what different pain managements do I want to be exposed to, have, utilize? Maybe it makes you think, what makes me feel safe? What is safety? What kinds of things make me feel safe and make me feel seen? And what kind of environment do I need to create that? Do I prefer a quiet room? Do I want encouragement? Do I want people talking to me? How do I want to be spoken to? What kind of thoughts or words are coming up? What things are triggering? What things are helpful? Really digging into all these kinds of questions. Asking yourself, what kind of interventions am I open to? What kind of things do I want to be exposed to? And how are we going about this? If you know for sure you want the epidural, when would you like it? Do you want it to be available to you immediately? Do you not want the epidural? Do you not want somebody to ask you, do you want that? What are your non-negotiables? And how can we really process this and dig into it a little bit more? Because going through this and creating a birth plan, the whole process altogether really builds confidence and really lets you ask over and over again, how do I feel about this? What do I want to be done in the moment? And maybe going through all of it and walking through it a bit, different things come up and different things get talked about. And maybe you think, I thought I wanted this, but then I thought a little bit more about it and I asked some questions and I learned a little bit more about it. And actually, I don't want that. Or maybe I do want that. And it really helps you feel more prepared when you go through all of these things and you're exposed to all your different options and all the things that are available to you. And it might change things and it might change how you want to experience your birth. And so it's a really valuable opportunity and time to be learning about all these things, getting more informed about all these things, getting involved with what's physically going to go on, what's mentally going to go on, and how you want that to look. Because empowerment doesn't come from getting everything that you want. It comes from being informed and being involved in the process. So you are a very active participant in your birth, and it's important to be talking about these things and to be digging into all the things that might come up if you want a birth that you look back on and enjoy and appreciate and know that you did all the things that you wanted to do, because there's such an emotional level when it comes to birth. And it's really important to talk about disappointment and trauma and grief and all of these things, because sometimes birth does change dramatically from what we envisioned and what we thought about and what we ultimately thought was going to happen. And this is really important and something that I really want to highlight and talk about, because you are allowed to grieve the birth that you hoped for. And even if you and your baby are healthy, you had a healthy baby. What more could you ask for? Honestly, holding space for both gratitude and grief is so valid and so needed and so important to understand. So maybe this isn't your first birth and things didn't go according, quote unquote, to plan. And that should be part of the plan. That should be part of creating what goes on. And creating a birth plan doesn't have to set you up for failure. Thinking about it differently and creating one with flexibility is going to alter that and adjust that and change it. So you don't have to have a previous experience that you were disappointed about, that you are grieving and you feel like a failure about. This can be your first birth that you are digging into all these things and having a healthy mindset around, so that you can have that flexibility. You can have that ability to adjust in the moment and be ready for things to go differently. Because it's really important to understand that these might be your preferences, but if something shifts, if something changes, you need to be able to understand why and actively stay involved in those decisions moving forward and hear what's coming next, and not shutting down, blocking things, and being able to still remain present in the moment during your birth. Because that is where the strength is going to come in. That is when the resiliency is going to come in. Not in this place of being stuck and, well, that's not what I wanted. This isn't the way it was supposed to go. I didn't plan for this. Really kind of digging deep and going more than just this surface level of a quote unquote birth plan, but going over all the different kind of scenarios. And so instead of writing this long list of requests, I really recommend that you structure your birth plan into different sections and different things that you really just think about. And some of those sections might be your environment. What kind of lighting preferences do you have? What about music? Do you want things silent? Who is in the room? Do you want movement throughout your whole labor? What kind of movements are you considering? What do you want that to look like? What kind of comfort measures are you having? What kind of tools are you utilizing? What are you open to? What are you thinking as far as your just overall environment and what that looks like, sounds like, feels like, smells like, all of those things. Go over all your different senses and how is that creating the environment that you kind of think that you want. And then another area of your birth plan is your medical preferences. What kind of monitoring are you open to? What does that pain management look like? What are your wishes and hopes and desires for this? What about when it comes to induction? Where are you flexible with that? Are you flexible with that? What kind of pushing positions are you thinking? Like I mentioned before, cord clamping. A lot of people just hear, oh, delayed cord clamping. What does that mean? Immediate skin to skin. Oh, I heard that was good. Why do you want that? Do you actually want that? What does that look like? What is skin to skin for you? And really digging into these things and understanding what kind of preferences you're open to. IV ports. What am I getting hooked up to? What does that look like? Does it need to happen right away? Can we delay this? Asking these questions, going over these things with your provider, and taking the time to understand all these check boxes that you are having listed and why you want that, what that looks like, and how it's going to be brought out. And then also having a section of if things change. Just spending a little bit of time on it is going to be so important and is something not to be overlooked. So asking yourself, if I need an induction, what matters most to me? What does that look like? If for whatever reason the suggestion of cesarean is coming up, what's going to make me feel calm? What do I want that to look like? Who is going to be there and how is that going to be done? Asking yourself, how can my partner be more involved? Who do I want directly to be there? Do I want a doula? What does that look like? What kinds of things are going to be happening in that space and who is going to be there? And again, if things change, what does the communication system look like? What kind of words help me stay grounded and help me stay present in the moment? What kind of things are going to be addressed and how am I going to be talked to in these moments? And this is where flexibility is so helpful and has the opportunity to really empower you and deepen that connection with your birth experience in the moment. And really, ultimately, what I want to talk about, just to wrap things up and to have you think about, is the real goal of building a birth plan. And the goal of the birth plan is not to completely avoid interventions. It's not going to reduce all fear imaginable. It's going to open up the conversations with your provider. It's going to make your partner see what is important to you and to know what your wishes and desires and hopes and vision is for this birth. It's going to help your support team advocate for you when you are focusing more inward and in labor land and doing what you need to do to bring your baby here. It's helping your whole team advocate for you and put these hopes and desires and wishes into play. And ultimately, it's helping you feel safe. It's helping you determine what matters most. And it's really giving you the opportunity to think more deeply about these things and learn more about all the different aspects of birth that maybe you haven't been exposed to yet. So a few questions to just ask yourself when you are creating your birth plan and really reflecting on how you want to feel. And what you can be doing when you're creating this birth plan would be, what does feeling respected look like to me? How do I want to respond when I feel out of control? What are my biggest fears about labor? What helps me calm my nervous system? What does a positive birth experience mean to me personally? This is your unique birth plan. It shouldn't just be check marks on a piece of paper and blank statements just thrown onto a page. It should have your personality coming through and your experience being highlighted. The answer to all these questions and what should be on there is more than just bullet points on a page. It's really digging a little bit deeper. And we can have a very highlighted overview, quick representation of that. But there should also be blips of it that are unique to you, your birth experience, and not just standardized. And whoever you're sharing your birth plan with should be asking questions and not just saying, oh, looks good. Okay. It should be thought about more deeply and discussed and able to have a conversation around. And no birth plan guarantees a specific outcome. And that's really important to understand. No amount of preparation guarantees a specific outcome or a specific way, but it really helps clarify things. It really helps you get honest with yourself and asking these questions and talking about these things and digging into it way before labor begins. So don't skip this. Process all the feelings that you're having, work out any fears that are coming up, and try not to cling to the things that are out of your control. Really utilize your birth plan as a tool that is super beneficial for you and all those that are involved with your birth. And I think that's going to go a long way and really be helpful in creating your birth plan. So if you are working on your birth plan right now, or you are helping somebody navigate what they want for their birth plan, really remember that you're not naive for hoping for a specific outcome or wanting a certain outcome to happen. And this doesn't have to feel like you are controlling the situation, and you don't have to feel guilty for creating a very well thought out birth plan and preparing for all these different things. You're not weak or a failure or wrong or anything if things shift or things deviate or go off plan. It's not about perfection. It's really about preparation and participation in your birth and actively being there, reminding yourself to be present. And it's something that you can carry into motherhood long after labor ends and long after your baby is born, because getting in the habit of educating yourself and informing yourself and going through all these things is just going to be so beneficial for whatever you're coming up against in motherhood. So if this episode resonated with you, please share it with somebody who is expecting or would find this information useful. Maybe save it for your third trimester if this is something that you want to revisit later and really dig into or have readily available when you are writing your birth plan and you are going through these preferences. If you want a deeper dive, if you want to really be supported along this as well as other ways that you can prepare and educate yourself for birth moving forward, even into the postpartum period. We have our childbirth education program called Own Your Birth, and it is doula-led. It is digging into all the things that you might not have thought about or considered or need to know, want to know, and it's all there for you. It's completely online, self-paced course, but you can also have direct access to me and another doula named Caitlin, who is going to help you through all these different steps and allow you to be more informed and take ownership of your birth. So go check that out. The information will be in the show notes. And as always, thank you so much for being here. And just know that you are doing your best and doing all that you can in every single moment and aspect of motherhood. So I'll see you next time. Thank you, mamas, so much for listening. Remember, you are a rock star. I believe in you. Let's doula this. Let's crank it up a notch and let's kick it into high gear together. Hit that subscribe button, share this episode with a friend, message me, email me, call me, beat me. You know how to reach me. We're doing this, mamas. I am so excited to catch you here next week. This is your one-stop go-to place for helping you find the resources you need to make the best choices for you and your family during pregnancy, birth, and most importantly, postpartum. See you later, mamas.